Yeah. This is my First Amendment audit. This is my first official First Amendment audit. And I don't mean to be deceptive, right? But it's the truth. I am auditing our history. I'm auditing the narrative we're given. And no, I'm not going to a particular place and which I would love to do. If I wasn't in the situation I'm in, I would absolutely do that shit. It takes a lot of effort and control to not do that stuff. I want to so badly go out in front of the Jewish cemetery down the road, the Adat Shalom, with a Free Palestine sign. It was an End Israel sign because it's not Free Palestine, and that's what I've been saying for months. It's not Free Palestine. Years. It's End Israel. That's the thing. Because as I said to you guys, time and time again, once the Palestinians are all dead, they're just going to go after the Lebanese. Whoa. And so I'm in this weird spot, right? Where because of Tartaria, because of the elections, because of the effort I've put in, because of my efforts, because I've read and read and read. I'm a voracious reader of whatever I want to fucking know. I've come to some I guess kind of unique conclusions. I don't know. Like, I don't think it's unique in that I've heard of similar things in my trust, similar belief. Like, nihilism is a very close thing. Blah 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 blah. What did you think was gonna happen? What did you think this was gonna be? Did you think this was gonna be like a cooking video or something? You can't be that stupid, are you? Appreciate you acknowledging it, but are you a Jew? Is that what it is? Are you a dumb Jew? And you're mad because I'm saying something you don't like? Weird, huh? It's weird how people can be that way. I don't like what you're saying, so you shouldn't say it. I don't like what I'm saying, prove me wrong. But the audit comes in with our history, with our historical narrative. This is free speech. I'm exercising my free speech, and instead of going to a particular place, I'm going on my live feed and just asking anybody to tell me what I'm getting wrong. I'm desperately looking for Trump supporters and Israel supporters and people who believe the narrative to come, be my auditees. I don't even know how it would work, but let's do this. I'm willing to be wrong. Let's talk about it. I think Israel and the Jews are the center point of all of the madness. I think it all comes back to them, and when we overthrow their control, the world becomes a better place, potentially. Potentially. Maybe they're the reason why things are allowed to exist. Maybe they keep us in that forever conflict, which keeps our show going. Because as soon as we realize, it's a show, and we start living the utopian, boring life that we should, we're not worth watching anymore. Oh, Abraham Lincoln. Oh, Abraham Lincoln. He freed the slaves, Well, not like really, though. Not really. There's so much of this narrative that just doesn't, like, seriously, you pick the thing, right? You pick the historical event, whatever it is, and I'll look it up and we'll see how it works out. I'm not worried. I bet just about everything we look into, it just won't work. It just, there's more to the story. There's way more than we think. I really think the linotype machine needs to be a focus. I really think people need to educate themselves on the linotype machine. Lino, Lino type machine. I think this is easily a top 3 invention of the 1800s. And most of you have never heard of it. And the thing is, when it comes to the linotype machine, I want to know how they did it beforehand. Because the linotype machine, once invented, was then adapted and used in every newspaper house, everywhere that made, that published materials. This is the thing that they use. So in the 1800s, in the 1880s or something, 2 businessmen approached a German clockmaker asking him to invent a machine that would make it easier to print pages and stuff. To make newspapers and all that shit. So of course this guy's like, yeah, I got you. And literally the history goes, after the initial attempt proved the thing possible, with some minor, over the next year or two, adjustments were made, and the final linotype machine was just there. It was just there. It was just made. What this machine does is it takes liquid metal and forms these liquid metal slugs, they call them. And what they are is lines of type. So you would write each line on the page. You would write out the first line of the page, and then it would make this slug that you would then put into the rack. Then you would make the second line on the next slug, and it would put it in the rack. And then when they pressed the paper, or they ran the paper over that thing, you got the page of type, line O type, right? And then once the pages were printed, the slugs were put back into the machine to be melted down and made into the next lino type slugs. So this machine is a self-contained foundry, basically. I mean, how does this work? What energy source is plugged into this machine to make it so it can create, it can melt down metal, create these molds, create the slug, the metal can cool off, be used, and then reinserted. This machine was created in the 1860s. No, 1880s. By a German clockmaker, of all people. And then it became the standard. This machine, or a variation of it, was literally how we got newspapers and everything else up until the digital age, basically. up until like the 80s. There would be multiple of these machines in a room so they could get multiple pages done quickly. What energy source fed these machines? Didn't they create an insane amount of heat? Like, in if they didn't, how did they not? Like, and even more importantly, what did they do before these? How did they make books and shit before the linotype? How did they make books? Like, publish the books, but then create said book. They would print out all these different pages, bind all these different books, and then distribute them from where, what publishing house, what factories would distribute them to all these different places around the country? How? The more you like sort of think about our past and how connected people were over these huge like expanses, like the idea that people in the Americas and Europe were communicating. How? How? That's by ship? Are you kidding me?
Okay, I won't. I'll be jealous. Okay.
Shit's insane.
There's nothing wrong with Mike's brother. It was actually Mike. He, did he tell you?
I don't know. I'm getting to this point where, again, this audit of history, where, the one part that's the First Amendment part is then I'm going to talk about the Jews and I'm going to talk about Israel. And most of you think we're not allowed to do that. Isn't that strange? Why not? Why would any group be off limits? Especially if what they're doing is right and righteous and good. Why do the Jews say that? Why does Israel say if the UN opens the books on Israel and looks into what Israel's been doing, that demonizes Israel? Well, how? If what you're doing is good, then there should be no demonization happening.
Surgery he just
had. Jesus.
Yes.
These are little tiny people right there.
Without the projection, because he just can't. So I'm sure that works out for the people around him. Yeah, he's okay. Yeah. Exactly. So he's just been completely out of sorts and
all right, well,
not in his regular routine.
If nobody's going to engage, I don't. What's the point? I don't want to sit here and keep doing it to myself. And again, I'm supposed to be looking stuff up.
You don't know the reason why.
You know what I'm really fascinated by? I'm fascinated by the history of cartoons. How cartoons are literally one of the first forms of film, when it seems like cartoons would be some of the hardest things to film. And really, the history of Hollywood, the history of the film industry itself, is so much harder to get to the bottom of than you might think. You know? I mean, at the end of the day, you would think the history of Hollywood would be like a part of our narrative, like one of those things that everybody just knows. Oh yeah, the Hollywood brothers, blah blah. Blah. You'd think it'd be something like that, but that's the furthest thing from that. It's all super Jewish, but it's all also like super shadowy. You can't find any of it.
Including the big ass dogs, because it's my house. I don't even know where to start. My basement's full of 3 dead grandmas worth of shit. So I've been trying to get.
And
that
it's
cleaned
about to
out.
be.
Uh,
I don't know, guys. What? What is it, you big dumb dog? What is it, you big dumb dog? Alright, so this is going to be really interesting. For me, it is. I hope you guys find it interesting as well. But if you don't, the good thing about not finding what I'm doing interesting is if you don't, you can always go find somebody else that's not talking about anything important. You know, there's plenty of people out there not talking about shit. Cops just drove by. Fuck them. Alright, let's see. Cartoons. History. Alright, cartoon. Let's see. Let's finally find it. A cartoon is a type of visual art that is typically drawn, frequently animated, in an unrealistic or semi-realistic style. This specific meaning has evolved. I don't give a shit about any of this. The concept originated in the Middle Ages and first described in a preparatory drawing for a piece of art such as a painting, fresco, tapestry, or stained glass window. In the 19th century, of course, in the 1800s, beginning in Punch magazine in 1843, cartoon came to refer iconically at first to humorous works in magazines and newspapers. Then it also was used in for political cartoons and comic strips. When the media developed in the early 20th century, it began to refer to animated films that reassembled fine print cartoons. Okay, so should I look up animation? Is that it? Let's look up animation. Animation, all right. The history of animation. Long before modern animation began, audiences around the world were captivated by the magic of moving characters. For centuries, master artists and craftsmen have brought puppets, automations, shadow puppets, and fantastical lanterns to life. You know, those lanterns, those old lanterns that they sort of briefly touch on all the time, those seem pretty spectacular, and they're really sort of this lost thing. Inspiring the imagination through physical manipulation wonders. This is the stroboscope, 1833. Look at that star in the middle. What do you think that star in the middle represents? You understand, like, this is what I do, right? I go and I just go look up random shit. I don't try to find the Jewish connections. They're there. This is literally, I've been doing this for what, 2 minutes? I read one thing, and the very first thing that pops up is this picture, this animation. This is supposedly one of the first animations. And it's got the star of, I mean, seriously, what the fuck else do you want? Like, what, how much more proof do I need to give you? I'm going to, but just right there, right off the bat, the kick in the face. It's like when you talk to a Jew. Within a few, within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, they're going to let you know, oh, well, because I'm Jewish, I think the blah, 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 blah. Well, being Jewish, that. And it's just how it works all the time. A projecting praxinoscope from 1882, here shown superimposing an animated figure on a separately projected background scene. Really? Really? 1800s, huh? That's amazing. In 1833, the stroboscope disc, better known as the phaneketoscope, better known as the phaneketoscope, introduced the principle of modern animation, which would be applied to the zoetrope, introduced in 1866, the flip book in 1868, and the praxinoscope in 1877, and then film. So, again, you think like, prior to 1868, nobody had figured out that if you draw a picture slightly different on a bunch of different pages and flip it, it'll make it look like the thing's moving. You had Da Vinci and you know, Michelangelo, Donatello, all the Ninja Turtles and shit. All these guys, and they had no idea you could make a cartoon, make it look like it was moving by flipping it. These are all introduced in the 1800s. Although, I guess Da Vinci and shit, like, I think, well, not Da Vinci, but I think a lot of the masters that we think of, they're not as old as we thought, or as we think, but who knows. Silent era. When cinematography eventually broke through in the 1890s, the wonder of the realistic details in the new medium was seen as its biggest accomplishment. It took years before animation found its way to the cinemas. The successful short The Haunted Hotel in 1907 by J. Stuart Blackton popularized stop motion. Let's see J. Stuart Blackton. Who is J. Stuart Blackton? James Stuart Blackton. Oh, look, there he is. Was a British, January 5th, 1875 to August 13th, 1941. Was a British-American film producer and director of the silent era. One of the pioneers of motion pictures. He founded Vitagraph Studios. Well, that's fucking huge. Vitagraph Studios in 1897. He was one of the first filmmakers to use the techniques of stop motion and drawn animation, is considered a father of American animation, and was one of the first to bring many classic plays and books to the screen. Blackton was also the Commodore of the Motorboat Club of America and the Atlantic Yacht Club. Those are some strange things. Okay. Born in Sheffield, England, died at 66 years old. That's unusually rare for somebody. He was married to Isabella MacArthur from 1897, divorced in 1906. Paula Hilburn from 1908 to 1930, where she died. Rachel Helen Stahl from 1931 to 1933, where she died. And then Evangeline Russell until I guess he died. That's interesting. Biography. Born on the 5th of January, 1875 in Sheffield, Yorkshire, England, to Henry Blackton and Jessie Stewart. Henry Blackton immigrated with his family to the United States in 1885 and changed the family name to Blackton. For what? What would be the point in going from Blackton to Blackton? That is stupid. That doesn't make any sense. That's again, immediately these details that you go, what? That just sounds like your bullshit. That sounds like the bullshit that they give us. That's what that sounds like. More bullshit. Changed his name from Blackton to Blackton. I don't see the point. You're not hiding, like what I don't get it. You changed your name from, Sam to Sim, from Sim to Sam, or whatever the fuck. Stupid. He worked as a reporter and an illustrator for the New York Evening World. Boy, that's a skip. How did he go from being born and the family immigrated, changed the name, to now he's just a reporter? And performed regularly on stage with conjurer Albert Smith. In 1896, Thomas Edison publicly demonstrated the vitascope, one of the first film projectors, and Blackton was sent to interview Edison and provide drawings of how his films were made. Eager for good publicity, Edison took Blackton to his Black Maria, the special cabin he used to do his filming, and created a film on the spot of Blackton doing a lightning portrait of Edison. The inventor did such a good job selling the art of movie making that he talked Blackton and partner Smith into buying a print of the new film, as well as prints of 9 other films, plus a vitascope, to show them to paying audiences. Just like that. The new act was a great success despite the various things Blackton and Smith were doing between the Edison films. The next step was to start making films of their own. In this way, American Vitagraph Company was born. During this period, J. Stewart Blackton ran the Vitagraph studio and produced and directed and wrote its films. He even starred in some of his films, playing the comic strip character Happy Hooligan in a series of shorts. No shit. So this guy's one of those polymath guys from back in the day that just makes everything work. Blackton felt that he could try any idea that sprang to his head, and in the series of films, Blackton developed the concepts of animation. Just like that. Just like that. You know what? Let's try something else. Pedophiles, kill yourself.